the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate World Championship 2019 3v3, but we get all the fun started with the Super Mario Maker 2 Invitational. Welcome in, I'm Jordan Kent, and joining me fresh out of a couple of warp pipes, my two friends, Vish and Nine. And Vish, as we get set for Super Mario Maker 2, many people have had a chance to play Super Mario Maker. Now we have the sequel coming out. But for some folks, this is their first taste of Super Mario Maker action. What do you expect to see, and explain it a little bit further for us?
Well, basically, if you've never played Super Mario Maker before, it's whatever your heart desires, Jordan. You are in control of making the Mario levels of your dreams. Basically, you can take elements, enemies, and components from different Mario games and create your own level. And on top of that, you can play levels from creators all across the world. It's basically whatever you want, Jordan.
The possibilities are limitless. Well, guys, you know, I'm a dad now. I love rules. Let's take a look at the tournament rules here for today for Super Mario Maker 2. Round 1, 4-player speed runs. Pairs of players will compete to finish the course as quickly as possible. That's a speed run for you. The player with the best overall time will choose a partner to team up with in round 2, because when we get to round 2, co-op teams. Teams of 2 work together to complete a co-op course as quickly as possible. The winning team will compete against each other in the finals. And when we get to the finals, oh, boy, do we turn things over on its head. 2 players compete on 3 mini courses and 1 final course. Each win of the 3 mini courses is worth a 3-second head start on the final course. At the end, the first player to complete the finals course will be the Super Mario Maker 2 Invitational Champion. And 9, we'll get a chance to meet our 4 competitors here shortly, 4 players that are very well versed in the Mario universe. However, when you get set to play Super Mario Maker 2 for the first time, you've never seen these levels before. How do you approach it? What's the strategy as you get set for these courses?
Easy way to describe it is instincts versus analysis. You're not going to get through these levels in one try. I don't think anyone's that good. They might prove me wrong, but it's really a matter of adapting to what's on the screen. Do you throw yourself right at it and learn by messing up, or do you instead take a little bit, spend 30 seconds here to save yourself a minute down the line?
We'll talk about that theme of risk versus reward all throughout the competition. And Vish, handling the different physics of the different Mario genres, you're going to be controlling a Mario from one universe as you handle obstacles and traps that maybe appeared in a different Mario universe. How do these players adapt to all the physics they're going to be handling?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to experience at the end of the day. Like, if you're well versed in all the Mario games that are here in Mario Maker 2, you're going to have an easier time dealing with all the objectives and enemies on the fly, right? Like, you're going to be speedrunning it, so you don't have that much time to adapt and react. So your experience is really going to come in the clutch, in these clutch moments.
And these courses are going to be very exciting. They were designed by our good friends at Nintendo Treehouse. We know they have been done with care and love as well, too. A lot of emotion put into these courses. But let's go ahead and take a moment to meet our 4 competitors in the Super Mario Maker 2 Invitational 2019.
So what's going through your mind while you're playing?
Well, no.
Why though? Why was that there?
So what's going through your mind while you're playing?
It's complicated.
Oh, 4 terrific speedrunners that have had plenty of experience in the Mario universe. To see the completionists, Abdallah the Dragon Feeny and Yellow Killer Bee. And 9, we were having some breakfast earlier. We chatted with them. They're excited for this. They feel like there's a clear favorite amongst the 4 of them, though.
Yes, they do. 3 of the 4 selected Dragon Feeny as the favorite. The one who did not was Dragon Feeny herself, ever the humble competitor. But that first round is going to be really important, because whoever wins that is going to get to choose their partner, and it might be Dragon Feeny.
And Vish, we were highlighting some of the new features in Super Mario Maker 2 as opposed to Super Mario Maker. What are some things we might possibly see as these players see the courses for their very first time?
Well, the big thing is there's a new game mode. Like, there's a whole new game type with Mario 3D World. So you might see a Meowser, you might see Cat Mario. There's all sorts of new contraptions in the fray for this new Mario Maker. Aside from that, you have things like slopes, you have things like parachutes that are just going to add a new little element of surprise, and these players are going to have to deal with that on the fly while getting their best time possible. It's going to be a fun ride.
Well, as you look at Abdallah and the completionist, you'll notice that they've got face masks on. They've got noise-canceling headphones on. Oh, look at that. That's just a holiday card right there. Bestest buddies. It's okay. You can smile, completionist. You're here having fun right now. He can't hear me. Those work very well. I like that. So they obviously won't get a chance to be a couple of sneaky sneaks and see the level as it gets played. But as we get set for Yellow Killer Bee and the Dragon Feeny to take place here, we mentioned those new features and that risk reward as far as how fast you want to go through this 9 versus maybe I dip my toe in the pool rather than take a cannonball because I'm not sure what's coming next.
It's all about creativity, too, and adapting on the fly. As a couple of you have said, you can take maybe one path and try it a certain way. Maybe that doesn't work. So the second time, you might try it again. But that third time, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, you got to change the game plan a little bit.
And Vish, it's one thing when you're back in the comfy confines of your living room or your bedroom playing this game and getting a chance to hit the reset button if you struggle, but you're on a big stage here right now. We've got a fantastic audience in the crowd getting set to watch this. We've got a lot of people watching this through the stream and everything as well, too. The nerves that might be going through these players real quickly here.
Yeah, I mean, it is a big stage like you mentioned, and it's the first time that we're seeing Super Mario Maker 2 in a stage like this. And from talking to the players, they don't have too much experience on a stage like this, so it's going to be very interesting to see how they deal with the nerves and playing like a technical game like Mario Maker or Mario in general while you're speedrunning is going to be very, very crucial for them to not feel nervous in the middle of their runs.
Well, the wait is over. Let's hit the start button. The Dragon Feeny versus Yellow Killer Bee, our opening speed run in round 1 of the Super Mario Maker 2 Invitational 2019. Let's start the countdown. 2, 1, and go. As they get set, they'll be hitting the start button at the same time. The Dragon Feeny on the left-hand side of your screen, Yellow Killer Bee on the right. And already 9, what genre of Mario are we seeing here?
Got a little Super Mario 3D World, how about that? And the slopes coming out immediately, and this is already a new feature. This block, when you ground pound it, immediately goes to its full extent and unveils a new pathway.
The Dragon Feeny in early lead decides to go with the right path, and so does Yellow Killer Bee. And we see here, Vish, a couple of different paths in these exclamation blocks, providing a little bit of a challenge early on.
Yeah, this is the new feature, as Nine pointed out. So you want to be able to use the ground pound to get all of them fully expanded, and from there you can make your way through this level. But I'm surprised that both of them went to the right off the bat, and definitely a little bit of a lead for Yellow Killer Bee. But I wonder how she's going to traverse through the rest of the stage now.
Yellow Killer Bee buzzing her way up towards the top. The Dragon Feeny trying to get a couple of those wall jumps, and the Yellow Killer Bee into the tube early on. And 9, here we go. Our first look at the car. Go ahead, strap in your seatbelt, and get ready for some fun here.
Well, I think I've seen this before. The bounce and going all the way up here. This is all about conserving your momentum. The trick in this segment of the level is you can't mess up because you don't get a chance to build speed a second time.
Yellow Killer Bee driving underneath the thumb. Oh, no, it's a couple of springs. Has to make a U-turn and go back into traffic. Meanwhile, the Dragon Feeny on your left-hand side still trying to navigate those exclamation blocks. And Yellow Killer Bee, oh, a little collision coverage right there. She bumps into the spikes, looking for the exclamation block, and she's on to the next part here. And already, you see the different things that can be thrown at these players. Dragon Feeny deciding to go to the left, but Vish, Yellow Killer Bee, we've got Cat Mario right now.
Oh, Cat Mario is finally making his appearance, and I like it. I like that Dragon Feeny tried on the right side and figured that she couldn't do it, so she went to the left side where she has the mushroom trampolines, and maybe that would be an easier time for her to traverse through this. But Yellow Killer Bee with a huge lead right now. That needs to use the crawl feature, the wall climb feature there with the Meowser, or the Cat Mario. Doing a great job already here. We got 2 options again with the blue and green. Green, of course, actually goes a little bit slower than the blue.
And 9, Yellow Killer Bee, she's not kidding around. You have to make sure that you handle these moving blocks, and those springs can throw players off quite a bit. When we talked to them prior to this, they said the one obstacle they don't like are springs.
It was a universal answer that they don't like, and you see that Yellow Killer Bee right now is trying to use wall jumps and stay ahead of that platform. But you gotta be careful as you're making the jump. I think she's starting to figure it out here. The combination of the climb as well as the wall jumps might get her up, and that's another level clear.
Yellow Killer Bee scratching her way to the top, sees the tube at this point, and Yellow Killer Bee continues to extend her lead. Vish, we've already seen a variety of obstacles. More springs coming up here. Yellow Killer Bee trying to go on the treadmill. A couple of treadmills up in the air, though. I wonder if those coins should lead her there, Vish.
Right, yeah. It feels like you want to follow the coins typically when you see these kind of levels, and the arrows specifically. The on-off switch is a new feature here in this Mario Maker 2, which actually turns the directions of the conveyor belts. And Yellow Killer Bee makes it all the way to the finish line.
Buzz, buzz, buzz. Yellow Killer Bee, the first one to cross the finish line. Impressive right there. Dragon Feeny will have 30 seconds left to finish up the level. We see already these alternating pink and blue blocks. You have to have a lot of really precise timing with this here, Nine.
Yep, you saw it right there. If you don't get the jump off at the right time, you will fall through. And that's the difference between this left and right side. This is more timing based, whereas that right side was about identifying which block you had to use.
Okay.
Dragon Feeny avoiding some thwomps right there, hopping on top of those happy clouds, getting inside the tube. Yellow Killer Bee, meanwhile, just sitting back, chilling. She already crossed the goal. An impressive job by our first two speedrunners handling that. And as we said, Vish, it's all about learning with the obstacles and adapting. And we saw that especially with Yellow Killer Bee as Cat Mario on that green moving platform. It seemed like she finally found her rhythm after a couple of tries.
Right. Yeah, it really is all about using the climb, I think, with Cat Mario, because you can go just a little bit higher and then from there jump to the next area and then do your wall jumps and whatnot. But I think it was very interesting that Dragon Feeny was stuck in that one area between the two different ways that she could have gone. And I think maybe if she had gone back to the mushroom trampoline a little bit earlier, it might have worked out well. Because some players are just better at certain aspects of the game.
And Nine, those exclamation blocks are very tricky, especially when you're trying to wall jump, because some of those blocks you have to hit. Others, they're not going to really help you out too much.
And again, sometimes finding out which of the blocks you need to hit is almost a luck-based thing. And not all of those blocks are created equal. And really, I think that the most important part is identifying which of the blocks are nice. So if you do fall, you can make it back up without losing too much time.
And you look at the pacing as well, too, Vish. It seemed like they weren't really hitting the brakes too much. A nice little rhythm, but they also didn't get themselves in too much trouble by going too fast.
Right. I think that's going to be the risk and reward that we're talking about a little bit. Because if you go all the way just holding right the entire time, there's going to be little traps and whatnot that could set you back. You might save 5 seconds, but lose 30 seconds in the long run. So I think just being a little cautious goes a long way in the end.
The Dragon Feeny and Yellow Killer Bee, our first two participants. Yellow Killer Bee crossing the finish line first. We'll get her official time for you here shortly to see what Abdallah and the completionists have to get if they want to be in first place. Don't forget, the winner of our opening round gets to choose their teammate for round 2. And this is where a little gamemanship comes in here, Nine, because you have to ask yourself, do I pick the strongest person to help me out in the second round, meaning I have a stronger opponent in the finals, or do I maybe pick somebody that struggled a little bit and maybe make my path in the finals that much easier?
Well, I've heard that some competitors might be maybe not trying 100% here in the early rounds just to make sure that they can throw people off here. So I think the games have already started, but you laid it out perfectly there. Are you assuming that you can get through that second round with a lesser teammate, or do you want to get there and let the championship round decide itself?
All right, let's get set for our next speed run here between Abdallah and the completionist here as they get set for the same level we just saw. They haven't seen it yet. They were blindfolded and had the noise-canceling headphones on. They're excited. They're ready to roll. The crowd is hyped up. Here we go. Let's take another look at this first course in Super Mario Maker 2 as part of our invitational. Let's get the countdown rolling here in just one moment. And off we go. Both players hitting start at the same time because they exercise good sportsmanship. That's what we like to see. And we saw earlier, there's a big blooper that comes out of the top question block, but we've got the completionist. He's trying to complete the level already, Vish. It's all about the speed here, rather.
Right. He wants to make sure he hits all the little blocks as soon as he can, but he gets a little power up that the other players kind of avoided because they're going for the speedrun aspect, right? They're just trying to power through it. And again, both players going for the right side.
And that's what we see right here, Nine, taking that exclamation point. Maybe it's the big yellow blocks that just draw your attention, but already the completionist figuring out the trick of using that ground pound. Abdallah, though, losing a life and having to go back to the beginning. Huge lead for the completionist here now.
It is, and one more block we saw. This takes you almost right up. Can he complete the whole jump? Can he salvage this? It looks like he is. Great spin all the way through. What a fantastic save there by the completionist. Checkpoint reached.
The aerial acrobatics to find himself in the cart portion at this point. And as you said, very precise jumps needed during this part if you want to avoid an accident. Those springs already trying to deter the completionist. And you take a look on the side, on the left-hand side with the completionist, those springs knocking him off. Abdallah, right now on the right-hand side of your screen, doing a great job bouncing off those platforms, Vish.
Right. And I like that there's no hesitation from Abdallah's end there, because if you hesitate a little bit on this course, you end up actually hitting those springs that we saw earlier there. And Abdallah not jumping also towards the end of that area is actually very clutch, because a lot of players are tricked up by it and they end up jumping a little bit and having to do that entire course again.
Abdallah moving on to the Cat Mario portion. Meanwhile, the completionist, well, he's just trying to lock some miles. We'll just put it that way. Cat Mario 9, you have to understand different physics can jump a little bit higher.
It is, and already going that way. And once again, going over to the green side here. The block on the left side does move a little bit quicker here, so it's a little bit easier if you want to get the speed, but sometimes that means you'll miss it too. Thinks they're going to try it right here.
And that's a good point. The rhythm that comes with being on the left-hand side, a little bit more natural because those blocks move faster, but Vish, Abdallah struggling just a little bit with the block portion, giving the completionist some time to catch up, but looks like the completionist is just going for a joyride right now.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like Abdallah is just trying to remember how to play Cat Mario, because he's doing the glide when he wants to do the wall climb and whatnot, and I think having those split mistakes every so often is really not going to be helpful in clearing a course like this that's very tight in terms of wall jumps.
And that's a good point, 9. We were talking to Abdallah prior to this competition. He said the physics for Cat Mario, very tricky. He pointed that out, and early on already having to deal with it. Meanwhile, the completionist in the Cat Mario stage has a chance to catch up here.
Does. This is very close right here. Just one more jump, and the completionist will be really about even with them once they get to that checkpoint here. And I think Abdallah's starting to figure it out there. Instead of standing on top of that very slow green platform, instead maybe using it to try to climb up. But it looks like he's found another way. That creativity paying off.
Right. Slow and steady wins the race. With the green blocks, they do end up going slower, which allowed Abdallah to really think out what movements he wanted to do and do the climb right before his jump. So he will make it to the next portion here. And again, you got to follow those coins and you got to follow those arrows.
Abdallah at the end just has to climb those last moving treadmills, as you see here. There's one, there's two. And here's one of those on-off switches that can affect so many different things, but Cat Mario making... Oh no, Abdallah misses the exclamation mark. It has to go all the way back to the bottom. Here comes the completionist in the block portion. Is there enough time for him to catch up? Don't forget, they're racing our winner from the earlier round right now. We'll see how that time stacks up as Abdallah reaches the top of the pole first. And we'll have 30 more seconds with the completionist just to play around with Super Mario Maker 2 and have some fun there.
Yeah, I think he's trying to complete the level right now, and he really wants to see what else is in there in this level. I appreciate it. I like
16 seconds left, but you talk about the different physics that you have to get used to, and already you're implementing traps and hazards from 2D side scrollers. You've got Super Mario 3D World and Cat Mario trying to handle that. You've got springs, moving blocks, so many things you have to account for here, 9.
Yes, and I think that right here, as we do see that time tick away, it really was not understanding the Cat Mario physics that kind of threw him off there. There was a chance to climb the wall earlier, but instead looking for a more traditional wall jump. I think maybe a little more familiarity, and that would have gone quick.
It's surprising how high Cat Mario can jump. A lot of times you don't have to use that glide, especially in that portion, just to make your way on up, but that glide can really throw you off sometimes.
No, yeah, the Cat Mario definitely is a little bit difficult, because in the portions like that, you're trying to just go and do the wall jump as soon as possible, but actually doing the climb just a little bit so you can time your jump and get a little bit more height is very crucial for that particular portion of the level.
So Abdallah wins the head-to-head matchup against the completionist. We do want to clean up one thing. In that prior race with Yellow Killer Bee and the Dragon Feeny, their graphics were on the incorrect side of the screen, so the Dragon Feeny actually winning that first round. And we'll see how her time stacks up against Abdallah. I believe she had the fastest time, so she'll get a chance to choose her teammate in the second round. But already early on, 9, we saw that on a given level, you can go left or right, and sometimes choosing the right path that plays to your strengths is all the difference in the world.
Well, it's all about the strengths, and we saw trying to shift back over to the left side after a little bit of struggles on the right side there. That's where those split-second decisions come in, because we've seen how fast these players can get through a level that they've never seen before. Right. There really isn't that much room to mess up.
And you saw the Kart Mario portion in the car. Very difficult for the completionist at times because you have to maintain that momentum. Not much of a problem for Abdallah.
Yeah, no, the Koopa car it's kind of difficult when you're not sure what's going to show up next, right? Because you have to keep your momentum, you have to keep your speed throughout that level, and then there's also one portion where you're not supposed to jump, where it's on the rest of it you're supposed to jump. So keeping all of that in mind is actually quite difficult as it's going so fast.
Well, let's take a look at the times after our first round in the 4 speed runs and see who had the fastest time. And it looks like the Dragon Feeny in 3:11, Abdallah 33 seconds behind. And You see Yellow Killer Bee and the Completionist unable to finish due to the speed of the Dragon Feeny and Abdallah. And we've been told that the Dragon Feeny, for her teammate in round 2, has chosen Yellow Killer Bee. So interesting choice right there, but you saw Yellow Killer Bee wasn't too far behind the Dragon Feeny, and now they get set for the co-op course, and this is where communication comes in. It's so important, and that cooperative play as well too, Nine.
Well, player 2 is always important whenever you're going through a game like this, and it's really important that someone, I think, becomes the shot caller in these situations. Some of these puzzles are going to really rely on somebody saying, all right, let's look at what we've got here. We're going to time this in 1, 2, 3, something along those lines, because we saw a little mess up can send you down far, and I have no doubt that this level is going to be the same way.
And I'm really curious who the little brother is between the Abdallah and Completionist, who's going to get that second controller that doesn't get used too much. It's been rolled up for a while as well too. And you mentioned working together, and another fact of this game that we saw earlier in the first course, the on-off switch and how that might be implemented. Perhaps we see that more in these next couple of courses.
Yeah, it definitely will help out with the timing of things. You know, in a two-player mode, if you have on-off switches, one person might have to turn on the switch, the other person would have to adapt to what that changes in the course map. So I think that could be very tricky and very interesting to see in a game like this. But as Nine said, I think a lot of it's going to be coming down to timing and how well you communicate with your ally. So I think maybe part of the reason why Dragon Feeny chose Yellow Killer Bee is perhaps, you know, they've been hanging out a lot throughout this weekend, so maybe they have some good synergy that might help them out at this next level.
Synergy, nice business word right there. I'll see that on my next PowerPoint presentation. And Nine, as you get set for co-op mode, and what we saw in this first course is it's almost like you walk into a section of these courses and you have to perceive everything around you and figure out, how do I solve this puzzle? And now it's going to be implementing most likely that second player. It's not just something you can do by yourself while your partner kicks back and drinks some lemonade.
Well, you do have 2 people, so it should reason that you can now figure it out twice as fast or something like that. So the communication is going to be just as important as what's going on in the game itself.
And also just the execution of the different moves that Mario can do. We saw that with Cat Mario, some of these players struggling as well too. You have to be very familiar with these power-ups, and it looks like our teams are set to go. Round 2, our co-op course here at Super Mario Maker 2 Invitational 2019. The Dragon Feeny and Yellow Killer Bee taking on Abdallah and the Completionist. Let's get ready for the countdown here, folks. 3, 2, 1, and let's hit that start button here. As we said, it's co-op mode, Mario, Luigi, a little Super Mario World action here,
Yes.
Nine.
I know a lot of the competitors, when we were talking to them, said they are very familiar with this, so if there's ever going to be a mode that they will know what to do, this is going to be the time.
Early on, you see a bit of an obstacle here, trying to get to the top shelf. There's an on switch just staring you in the face. Dragon Feeny, Yellow Killer Bee, that figure it out. But now they've got to advance Luigi on the bottom. They're starting to slowly figure it out. Hitting those on-off switches, opening up the gates, allowing them to progress here, Vish.
Yeah, like we're talking about, one person is doing the on-off and the other person is just waiting. And in this particular moment, this is where the timing matters, right? Because he has to turn the switch on, and then the blue block will appear, and he has to jump on it. He has to do that 2 or 3 times, and they both make it to the second round at basically the same time.
Both teams sneaking through the door at the same time. Now you see a swinging crane floating at the top. They're trying to jump off of each other's heads to grab it, use those physics to advance. Oh, Dragon Feeny and Yellow Killer Bee moving forward, but there is a P block right there. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that switch here, Nine.
The best prize that you could ever get at the end of a crane game there. Dragon Feeny and Yellow Killer Bee move. They both get in at the same time. I cannot believe how close this is already. And now we see the switches again. It's going to be very important that they identify this because they are both moving at incredible speed.
And you see Abdallah and the Completionist slightly further ahead than the Dragon Feeny and Yellow Killer Bee. Don't forget, whatever team wins advances to the finals where they face off against each other. Abdallah and the Completionist hitting that POW block, getting the spring to go. Mario trying to jump up with that spring, advances. Luigi on your right-hand side, just a few seconds behind here, Vish.
This is a really tight race. They are just neck and neck right now. They're really figuring out all the things they need to do and like throwing the POW block up there to get the spring. And now they just have one more little obstacle to complete here. They passed the POW block to the top there. That timing.
Past the gravy and past the POW block as that vine comes down. And Dragon Feeny, Yellow Killer Bee They advance. Abdallah, the completionist, kicking it too high. It is exhausting having to grab a new power block. Here comes another on-off section here, though, Nine, and this is going to require a lot of communication, it looks like.
This one is a little bit tricky. The last time that we saw this switch, it was a little bit more obvious what you need to do. Here, there's going to be some bouncing that's involved. You can't get to it with a normal jump.
Abdallah and the completionist now equal with the Dragon Feeny and Yellow Killer Bee. And Bish, this is what we talked about. Seeing a puzzle in front of you and figuring out what do I do with all the tools at my disposal.
Right. I think just even like exploring a level or just like going through and seeing what options you do have could really help you out in a juncture like this.
You see Abdallah and the completionist on that left-hand side trying to jump onto the red block. They advance Mario right there. Ooh, what do you do here, Nine? This looks precarious.
Well, they got to figure it out quick. 1, 2, just along the length, the right idea. But unfortunately, the right idea is not enough. You got to start all over again.
And it comes to the execution we talked about, Bish. You can have the right idea, but at the end of the day, your thumbs have to be in sync with your brain.
Yeah, I mean, in a speedrun like this, you usually get like one try at most in terms of learning that kind of idea here. So he can't mess up again because you have to start all the way from the beginning. Will he get the timing down this time? You can see them biding their time. He barely missed
the gate on him. Shuts the gate on him. Said, no, you can't come in for dinner.
Oh, no.
Abdallah and the completionist going back to the beginning. Meanwhile, Dragon Feeny, Yellow Killer Bee still trying to find the rhythm. But Nine, this is an important point. You see a trap, how quickly can you go back through the puzzle and give yourself as many chances as possible?
That quickly is how they can get through it there. Both sides know what they need to do. It's just a matter of execution. And as we get to another tricky room right here, it's up to the Dragon Feeny and Yellow Killer Bee to get through this as fast as possible.
And keep in mind, these red and blue blocks are now automatically switching off, and that's a feature with the on-off switch here, Bish. Other items can turn it on and off, but now that skull track is gone, let's go through the door and see what happens after that. Abdallah and the completionist, one room ahead on this course over Dragon Feeny and Yellow Killer Bee. They're going to give themselves another chance on the left here, trying to time things out. It looks like they might have figured this out. And Abdallah and the completionist taking the carpool through the tube. Is that going to be enough as you take a look coming out the pipe? One more trap here, though, Nine.
It's a trap and also a new feature. They immediately go to grab each other once.
Oh, the air ball is just short. Abdallah and the completionist trying to close out this course and advance to the finals, and they do. Abdallah and that completionist high fives and dap around as they move on to the finals. Nicely done. Fantastic execution, and you see all the things you can do in co-op play, Bish. How about the teamwork by those two?
Oh, man, you could really see the teamwork coming together as the course even progressed, right? Like, you could see them really on point with their timing. As soon as they got that one red-blue block at the start where you have to do it twice in order to continue the next one, I feel like they were totally in sync, and everything after that just kind of really smoothly came together for them.
In Nine, it seemed like the difference in this course was how quickly Abdallah and the completionist figured out that one room where you've got to alternate the red and blue blocks and then time the double jump at the end. And they're able to rinse and repeat multiple times. Meanwhile, Yellow Killer Bee and the Dragon Feeny just couldn't get the rhythm down.
No, and it's remarkable not only how quickly they were able to adapt, but how quickly they figured out the exact timing that they needed to do. That is not easy to do. These people know what they're doing, and that skull track room that they got through, that took them 2 tries. They figured it out immediately and executed it right on that second try.
Well, we're at the finals, which means we do have to say goodbye to 2 of our competitors. Crowd, let's give a big round of applause to Dragon Feeny and Yellow Killer Bee. Excellent work considering this is the first time they saw this game, and I'm sure they're going to just have a great time with it when it releases later this month. But we do have a finals to get to, and it'll be 3 objective-based courses and then 1 finals course as well, too. And this is where things get fun because now you've got different ways to finish courses here. You see round 1, the Dragon Feeny had the fastest time. She chose Yellow Killer Bee. However, Abdallah and the completionist, with a bit of an upset in the second round, they'll pair off against each other in those finals. And as we said, the courses and the ways that you can complete them now, it's going to involve probably more puzzle solving.
Right, and this is a new feature that we have here, the ability to have clear conditions and then touching the flagpole or whatever it may be that's at the end of the level.
And there's different things that you can do. You can perhaps maybe collect a certain amount of coins, hit a P-switch possibly. So understanding that and realizing what you have to do, and these are probably going to be shorter courses as well too, Vish, so less margin for error.
Right. I think taking your time with courses like this really will pay off because there's going to be little precarious traps as you go along, right? So, and there's going to be levels where you may have to like escort something, you might have to have an item along with you might have to collect all the coins as you mentioned. So being very wary of what's coming up ahead while going as fast as you can is going to be really the crucial portion of this.
Well, let's get set for our first course in the finals, the first of 3 mini courses that are objective-based. So keep an eye out for what that objective is. It'll appear at the bottom of your screen here shortly. We've got Abdallah versus the Completionist, course 1 of the finals. Let's get this countdown started here, crowd.
They were really chummy in the previous game, but now the gloves are off. Now they got to play against each other. Oh, look at
I see a firm ground from the Completionist. He's ready to go. 3, 2, 1. And let's roll here. Both players hitting that play button at the same time. Finals 1, a little Super Mario 3 here, Nine.
Well, you knew we were going to get it coming up eventually, and it's going to be reaching the goal after hitting all, in this case 1, piece.
Well, let's see what we have here. You go through the pipe, and there's a mushroom, and up. Just like airplane seats for me, too big to get through there, Fish.
Yeah, that's our first peek at the night mode feature that we have in Super Mario Maker 2. And it looks like there's twisters here as well, and we also have the little sandstorms feature, which is going to push you through that little area that's too difficult for you if you were a big Mario.
Abdallah trying to figure out which jigsaw piece can complete this puzzle right now. Can't make it through that pipe as long as you've got those twisters at the bottom. Hits the on-off switch, trying to mess around with the twister on the right-hand side. Meanwhile, Completionist, knocks the twister off right there, and